everyone, welcome to another episode of the Futurum Tech Webcast. I'm your host, Daniel Newman, and I'm excited for this continuation of our Edge+ series that we're doing in partnership with Red Hat. As part of our interview series, we're talking about the Edge. We're talking about Edge+ security, Edge+ topology, Edge+ automation, and today I've got Bradd Weidenbenner, and we're going to be talking about Edge+ scalability. Bradd, welcome to the show.
Hello, nice to meet you. My name is Bradd Weidenbenner. I'm a product manager for advanced cluster management for Kubernetes. It's part of the OpenShift Container Platform Plus. And I'm excited to be here today. Thank you.
It's great to have you here. It's been fun having these conversations. The Edge is such a big topic. It's basically the fastest growing, not cloud in the world, but it is participating in the growth of every part of the enterprise infrastructure because of the fact that data is driving the future. So your topic and the work you're doing, Bradd, is all about scale, or at least that's what we're going to be talking about here today.
Yes.
So in the spirit of these shows, which we try to keep short, to the point, make sure our audience of enterprise decision makers can get to the facts fast, I'm going to get fast to the questions. So, I want to start off talking to you about the challenges that you see with Edge use cases, specifically the biggest management challenges from all the conversations that you're having with customers out there.
Absolutely. That's what certainly some of the challenges we look to solve with advanced cluster management. ACM, you'll hear me refer to it as ACM or RACM even. But they really boil down to three things: complexity, the scale, and the vendor lock-in. And so, we're trying to work in a distributed compute paradigm with the traditional data center now flowing out to different geographies. And so you have the far edge, and as you move further away from the traditional data center, the latency requirements, getting the compute closer to the user and actually being able to process it where it matters the most, that's crucial. And with advanced cluster management, we're able to help solve those challenges with complexity, the scale, and the vendor lock-in.
Yeah, that's always a big challenge. You mentioned a few things, and Red Hat really has always stood for sort of open, right? So you guys building the Edge business, but the people that know RHEL and they know OpenShift know that the whole idea was cloud is going to bring in a ton of complexity. If one of the complexities you can remove is the lock-in, is forcing you to go down the path with any one vendor. So it's good to see you guys carrying that from kind of core to edge in the philosophy. But I also, to be honest, I wouldn't have expected anything different. It would have been a weird departure from the Red Hat sort of, the Red Hat provenance. So let's talk about the industries.
Yep.
You're out there working with customers. These challenges that you're talking about, what are the industries that you're seeing these challenges most prevalent?
Telco comes to the forefront, and we'll talk about that more. Could be shipping, cruise lines, any of the industrial use cases, factories, retail deployments where you have thousands of satellite locations that aren't connected to that traditional data center compute power. We need to now be able to do this compute at these different locations in the edge. And I do like how you called out Red Hat's open nature, and I'm proud to announce that advanced cluster management, we were accepted to the Cloud Native Computing Foundation back in November of 2021. So you'll see that there, as well as some of the components, right? There's really 5 pillars inside of the advanced cluster management, which it's all about management and advanced management, that is. But we have a networking pillar that has a project that was also accepted to the Cloud Native Computing Foundation, Submariner. So we're proud to have that open sources. Thank you for bringing that up. And as far as the agnostic, we have this single pane with ACM that allows you to bring these OpenShift clusters in on different platforms. Even now, we're able to import in and non-OpenShift clusters to look at it in the observability pillar. So from a vendor lock-in, we certainly allow you to look at those things in a single pane, your clusters.
Yeah, absolutely. And congratulations on the recognition. Like I said, almost be surprised to not see that approach. It's just become so inherent within the way Red Hat's built its business. And it seems to be aligning very well with the architecture and the selections and how businesses are going to market with their adoption of cloud. So it's always good to be on that right trajectory. Now, you've mentioned a few times advanced cluster management, ACM, clusters in general. Um, for the technical audience, this probably won't come as a surprise, but of course, when you're in IT, there's so many acronyms, so many terms that come up every single day, and um, I don't want to take that for granted. Talk a little bit about what ACM is and what the specific challenges that it's addressing.
Yep. So advanced cluster management comes into really five pillars in the management realm of deploying your OpenShift clusters, and we have the clustered lifecycle, the ability to lifecycle your clusters, create, update, scale. You can remove those clusters reliably, consistently in a open source programming model. And we also have application lifecycle, so we can deploy our applications using open standards and CI/CD pipeline integrated in. We also have the governance, risk, and compliance that allows us to use policy to automatically configure and maintain the consistency of our controls and desired state. That's going to be something we'll talk about more as we dive into one of the industries. And then we have the observability, the end-to-end visibility. So that's also powerful, allowing your different ops personas to view their system alerts and critical application metrics and really just your overall system health, and have that single pane where they can identify and resolve their issues. And then lastly, I mentioned the fifth pillar being the multi-cluster networking, where today we have the Submariner project, which is going GA. We're currently Advanced Cluster Management 2.4 was released back in November. We'll be releasing 2.5 coming up at the end of April, last week of April. OpenShift 4.10 just released yesterday, and we trail OpenShift by a couple of weeks. We spent a little more time this release actually getting our bits in order for the contribution to the CNCF there. So yeah, those would be the big main use cases of advanced cluster management.
Well, there's quite a few there. Five pillars, a significant opportunity to address scale when it comes to edge topology. So that is, I'd say it's not a little thing, Brad. It's quite a bit that you guys have going on there.
Yep.
I think it's always helpful for people if you can provide a little bit more of an in-depth or a specific example. So you said earlier, hey, we could dive deeper. So I'm going to take you up on that offer right now. Give me a little bit of a deeper dive on how advanced cluster management is helping, deploy multiple clusters at scale. Give me an industry or a specific type customer example.
Absolutely. And allow me to set the stage here with a little backdrop on the edge topologies. I'm glad you kind of brought that up, because we will have a few acronyms to expand here, but it starts with furthest out. In the example I'm going to give, you'll hear us refer to it as single node OpenShift Snow. And edge topology defined by Red Hat OpenShift. That's the furthest out, as I mentioned, as you go away from your traditional data center, and the latencies are the furthest and most extreme disconnected environments. Then we have remote worker nodes, and closer to the data center, we have 3-node compact clusters. But the theme is that the further away you get from the data center, you have less compute, like whether it's the space, the connectivity. So the footprint gets smaller. The area you have to have the control and management plane end up getting condensed down into a single node, as opposed to the 3-node cluster, and in the middle, the remote worker node. So those would be your edge topologies. And we have some great literature out there and blogs on all of these. And so I'll pause if you have any questions on the topologies. Otherwise, I'll jump into the actual telco use case.
No, actually, I won't. But what I will use this as a moment to plug. There will be a Edge+ video, part of the series, that will focus on topologies. So that link will go into the show notes. So if you do want to know more about it, go over there. For the sake of keeping this moving, though, Brad?
Yep.
Give me the rundown.
Thank you. So we're going to jump into the telco industry. In particular, we have service providers. They're deploying their distributed mobile network architecture in a modular functional framework, that part of the 5G standards. And so this allows the service providers to move from their appliance-based radio, the RAN, to the open cloud RAN architecture, which Red Hat's a big part of that initiative. And so we're getting more flexibility and efficiencies in delivering these services by providing these solution sets here. And so I'm going to jump right into it. It's ZTP is your next acronym, Zero Touch Provisioning, and it uses a GitOps deployment and methodology set of practices for the deployment. It allows your developers to perform tasks that would otherwise really fall under the IT operations team. So these things are GitOps achieves these using the declarative specifications that in the Git repository. So it'll be YAML, other constructs that they're able to use their source of truth, record of truth for the infrastructure as code up checked into Git. And this declarative model's leveraged by the ACM. That's the whole nature of Kubernetes being a declarative state model. And let's look at this too real quick. I'll back up. Advanced cluster management's an operator on top of OpenShift, and we're just an extension. We've made it Kubernetes more extensible. So talking about scale, with this story, we've been able to deploy through ACM with the current release of 2.4, 2,000 single node OpenShift clusters through these ZTP solution set that we have as part of ACM. And so that is really the motivator of this GitOps approach, is the reliability at scale. When you're stamping these things out in the natures of the, in this case, the ZTP solutions tailored to the far edge, the single node OpenShift, and applying a DU RAN policy. And we use, that's for the distributed unit in the RAN architecture. And we're able to do this at scale reliably. They just stamp them out one after another. We're treating these clusters as replaceable. They don't have to be loads of care and maintenance put into these things. If you have a challenge with them outside of a hardware failure, you're just going to redeploy it. It's all the configuration information, everything's in a GitOps methodology, able to be pulled down from there. And so this, we really address some of the reliability issues by providing traceability, RBAC, the single source of truth for that desired state. And that's really the based on the structure and the tooling we use to with the event-driven operators through webhooks. And so that's when we're deploying the DU, that's using a policy generator, which is a part of advanced cluster management. When I talked about the governance, risk, and compliance pillar, we're using policy to set that desired state, and you can have inform or enforce. And so this is powerful because that's part of knowing that the cluster is in the state that it was intended to be.
A whole lot there, Brad, and
Yes.
hopefully everybody out there caught that. There is a lot to think about. You, of course, have to think about architecture. You have to think about policy and governance. You have to think about scale. Throughout this series, again, we have to talk about, the overall topology, talk about how do you automate, how do you secure, and then, of course, in this conversation, Brad shared with us how to scale. Brad, I got to let you go here.
Yep.
Got to keep it short, keep it punchy, a lot to learn. Check out the show notes, lots more links there. Appreciate y'all tuning in.
Thanks, everybody.